multiple loved ones, they may be like, I should be the one doing that.
Right.
And the other's daughter will be like, no, Mom would want me doing that, and she wouldn't want to happen what you want to happen to her because me and Mom had a talk. So they got to do all this in front of a judge, and the judge makes the call.
Sure.
You're in the hospital or laid up, and your kids are going to court to get. So because you didn't put this in place, your family.
Welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Anchored in family values, Wayne offers practical advice to help you get the most out of your retirement years. For more information, visit today'sretirees.com. Now, here's your host.
And welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Glad you have joined us today. We are going to be talking a little bit in our first program today about your estate plan. And when I say that, my question to you is, do you have an estate plan? Mm-hmm. It's amazing how many folks don't really have that plan together, isn't it?
Yeah, or don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Really?
It is.
But what do you think it is?
Well, since I just went through some of this myself,
yeah,
we put together, with your help and an attorney's help, mm-hmm. we put together the power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney, mm-hmm. The end of life directive. If you were in, what do they call it, for like a living will kind of a
mm-hmm.
thing?
Yeah.
Those types of things. Plus, what would happen to your assets, whether it's a trust or a will or mm-hmm. something like that. Is that what we're...
Exactly.
So we finally got it done, Wayne.
I was just going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you how old you are in the show here, but what took you so long? Really? I mean, we didn't pre-talk about this at all.
We didn't.
Before the show. So yeah, just curious as to what were some of the reasons why it did take so long.
Well, and, speaking just for my family, there was no reason. We just didn't get around to it. My wife mm-hmm. has been hounding me for a few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good.
But I think everybody's busy. And it just, you mean well, but you mm-hmm. just keep pushing it back. And I think, let's be honest, we don't want to acknowledge the fact that we're not going to be on this life for eternity.
Right. We don't want to think about what happens after,
right.
Which is common. And the reason I want to talk about it today, we've talked about it in the past, but whenever I do my reviews with my clients, I go over those types of things. If they did not have an updated estate plan, mm-hmm. When we first started working together, and then our subsequent meetings, every meeting I'll ask them, did you update your legal documents or implement an estate plan? Mm-hmm. Not yet. So just legal's still not done. So next meeting I'll ask them, and I'll go through the client today, just before we're taping the show, and going through the years since like 2012, including this review. Mm-hmm. I'm just going by each date. Legal's not done, legal's not done, legal's not done, legal's every one. So they still haven't done.
This is 10 years later.
Yeah. And it's common. It's common enough to where I want to just keep reminding people, on top of all the other financial planning, they have to put something in place. And this week, I've had a bunch of appointments, and it was a higher than normal week of people that actually did get them done. Where yes, legals are updated. Mm-hmm. So then I note the file, legals updated. And I had a lot of those this week, which was kind of cool. So I don't know if it's because of COVID, that people are thinking, gee, they had some friends die, and sure. They had a lot of time to think about stuff, and they couldn't see anyone for a couple years, like professionals without masking up, or mm-hmm. a lot of the attorneys were just doing things over online and emails or whatever. So people are maybe just saying, okay, let's get it done. So mm-hmm. just want to do this show as a reminder that if your legals aren't updated or current, mm-hmm. relevant to your life today, or if you never did get around to putting them in place, to
Sure.
start thinking about it.
So let me play the other side of this. If I don't get them done and I pass, what does that mean for my family?
Well, that's called dying intestate.
Okay.
Okay, dying without a will. And then it reverts back to the state's intestate laws.
Okay.
You know, and each state has their own. So if you die without a will in whatever state you're in, they have a will for you.
Sure.
And that's bad when there's children involved, because the kids end up getting a portion and the spouse gets less money.
I see. Okay.
So it literally bypasses mom or dad and goes,
Okay.
a big chunk goes to the kids. So,
Okay. Well, just to you know, for our audience, my mother passed away in 2000. My sister is finishing. It's in a different state, but she's now finishing up that estate where she had nothing set up. So it's 20,
Thanks, Mom.
22 years.
Yeah. You don't want to be that person, you
Yeah.
know, that leaves your family a mess.
Right.
So yeah, when we're talking about an estate plan, you're exactly right. A basic estate plan, you know, bare bones. Everyone should at least have this in place. Will, like you said, a power of attorney for healthcare, power of attorney for finance,
Okay.
and you know, a lot of people don't know what those are, but and then a healthcare directive or living will.
Okay.
Okay, and some attorneys nowadays are skipping the living will
Okay.
and putting your healthcare directive, your wishes. You know, do you want to be kept alive? Do you not? You know,
Sure.
do not resuscitate, all that stuff. Some attorneys now are just putting that verbiage in the healthcare power of attorney
Okay.
and giving that healthcare power of attorney person, you know, spouse or child or whatever,
Sure.
the authority to tell the doctors your wishes. You know,
Sure.
they're having you make that call, the power of attorney,
Okay.
based on what you wrote in the healthcare directive, in the healthcare power of attorney, you know, as far as your living will directive.
Sure. And this does, to me, you know, as I went through this recently as well, it does two things. It takes those decisions out of people who are under stress at the time this is going on.
Or can't.
Or can't,
Yeah,
right.
if you're laid up or in a coma or
Right.
car accident or you get dementia or, you know, whatever the case, if you can't pay your bills and sign checks or and cash checks, make checks, or if you can't tell the doctor your wishes, you know, this gives the power of attorney the authority to do that. And a big problem with people that don't have that in place, that your family has to go to court to get appointed power of attorney if you haven't done it ahead of time.
Sure.
So if you have, you know, multiple kids or multiple loved ones, you know, they may be like, you know, I should be the one doing that.
Right.
And the other's daughter will be like, no, mom would want me doing that, and she wouldn't want to happen what you want to happen to her because me and mom had a talk. You know, so they got to do all this in front of a judge, and the judge makes the call.
Sure.
While meanwhile you're in the hospital or laid up, and your kids are going to court to get. So because you didn't put this in place, your family has to do that.
Sure. So it's important, friends, to set your estate plan, and Wayne can help you do that. Now, Wayne will tell you, I think, he will say, I'm not an attorney, but he will help you put that together so that that you, all of this and your investments and your financial plan, everything works together that makes sense for your family. Your family's different than my family. It's different than Wayne's family.
That's what we're going to talk about after the break.
I see that on there. Is your family normal? My wife will tell you that normal is only a setting on the dryer. So,
That's a good one.
is that a good one? Well, we'll be back right after this.
We've all heard the word rollover when referring to an investment account at work or your 401k, your 403b, your 457 plan. What do you do with that when you've left your job and your 401k or other retirement plan is still at your old employer? Or what if you've retired? And one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to leave your money, your retirement account, in your employer's 401k. Quite frankly, your old employer or current employer is the boss of your retirement account. So if you have questions about what to do with your rollover, you roll it to Wayne. Get it in your own hands where you have the whole universe of investments and choices, not just what your employer tells you can pick from. So contact my office for a free consultation on how to roll over your old retirement account.
And welcome back to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. We're talking a little bit today about your estate plan, and hopefully you have one or you are working on one, because as we talked about in our first segment, everyone should have a plan. And when we left, we talked about coming back and talking about, is your family normal? And
yeah, normal and simple.
Normal and simple. Now, when you say
or normal or simple.
When you say normal, I mean, I'm thinking mom, dad, a spouse, probably have some children, maybe.
We go down the line, yeah. I mean, the spouse, for instance, is it a first marriage, second marriage,
okay,
third marriage?
Yeah, in today's society, it could be all of the above, or any of the above.
Absolutely. Are you even married, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people live together. So do you leave everything to your spouse, right? Mm-hmm. If you do, and there were previous marriages, and they have kids from previous marriages, are you worried your spouse will now leave your kids out?
Oh, sure.
Right? I mean,
it happens.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if your kids don't get along with the spouse,
mm-hmm.
or if once you pass, your kids don't have any contact with the surviving spouse.
Sure.
10, 15 years goes by. The surviving spouse's kids are maybe taking care of them later in life, taking them to the doctor, helping them grocery shop, whatever. Your kids haven't been part of the picture for 5, 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the surviving spouse will be like, well, I've been seeing you. My kids are here helping me. So calls the attorney. Mm-hmm. These people are now out of my will.
Sure.
Now your kid's got nothing.
Right.
Right. That's what I mean by simple or normal.
Okay.
Normal, simple, original spouse, kids are yours and theirs. No previous marriages, no kids from previous people.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I'm talking about. The other is your surviving spouse capable of handling the estate once you're gone?
Oh, okay, sure.
Investments. A lot of times one spouse or the other makes all the financial decisions.
Right.
Pays the bills, invests the money the way they feel appropriate. So if they pass away, now you have this surviving spouse that was never part of any of that.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen? Do we need to make provisions in the will to do that?
Sure.
Or trust. Is your surviving spouse easily manipulated? Where they can be scammed or schemed or taken advantage of by either strangers, new companions, or other family members.
Okay.
You got to look at all of this.
Right.
Then you go to what you said, you go back down. What about the kids? Mm-hmm. Are your kids normal and simple? Do your kids have addictions, gambling, drugs, alcohol, spending?
Sure.
Are you worried about how your kids will manage the inheritance you leave them?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you have any special needs kids?
Oh, sure.
Okay? Where you have to protect the assets you leave them so they don't lose the government benefits.
Right.
And then you look farther, your in-laws. Your son could be married to a psycho you can't stand, right?
Right.
Or a person that spends a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So you may be worried about how the spouse may influence your child once they receive your inheritance.
Okay, sure.
You may be worried about grandchildren. You leave your child a good sum of money and then they end up passing away. Now this spouse may be normal, may not be normal, may be a spender, may get a new spouse, and all of a sudden your grandkids are X'd out.
Sure.
This is when it starts to get complicated.
Right.
If you trust your spouse and they're sharp and they're capable, good. That simple, basic estate plan is fine. If your kids are fine, oh yeah, my kids will handle the money, no problem. We love their spouse.
Yeah.
We don't care if their spouse ends up with all the money. We love her or him like family members. Then a basic estate plan is all you need. But if some of those factors are part of your family,
sure,
then you got to start getting a little more complicated, really think through the estate plan and put certain provisions in place so certain things you're worried about or concerned about won't happen because we took care of it before you passed away.
Sure. And that, to me, that also alleviates the beneficiary of making some of these decisions because it's already done, it's already in the plan, it's already written down.
Yeah, like if you leave something to your child and you have grandkids, right? They have kids and you want them to make provisions in their estate plan so the money you leave them is preserved and protected for your child and their kids. It's going to be hard for them to X out their current spouse. Hey, who do you want as beneficiary, Mr. Jones? Well, my kids. His wife's sitting right there. What do you mean? What about me? We don't have a lot of money. Then he'll say, well, this is from my mom and dad. Yeah, but we're married. We're a family. You're going to, what am I going to do if you pass, if you leave everything to the kids?
Sure.
So it's going to be an issue for that child to make those decisions over their spouse, kind of cut them out. They'd have to update their will and say, hey, everything I inherited from my mom and dad, I leave to my kids, not my spouse. They'd have to keep the accounts separate, not in the same checking and savings.
Sure.
Right? They'd have to not pay off the joint mortgage or... That's hard to do. So, yes, you would have to do it for your child before you pass so your child doesn't have to make those difficult decisions.
Sure. And that's part of putting, like you say, putting this estate plan together, working with a certified financial planner like yourself.
Before they go to the attorney. So, we say every family's different. So, we figure out the family's makeup and the concerns of them.
Sure.
And then we share with them, well, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that, you do that. Pros and cons to this is this and this, and then they go to the attorney prepared. Because the attorney's not going to go through all this in detail. Most won't.
Sure.
They're just going to say, well, who do you want to get this and that? And yeah, really. I mean, that's
right.
And attorneys are expensive too. So they do it with me for free. So get as much legwork as you can ahead of time, and then go to your attorney, and you're clear and concise on what you want.
Sure. Well, it makes sense, and when you can go to your attorney and tell them, this is the plan I want to put together, legally, how do you write that up?
Yeah, that's what they do. Then they take it from there, and they appreciate it too, because it's all, they know your wishes, and they know how to write that out and make sure it's clear and.
Sure.
And there's no wiggle room, really. This is what mom and dad wanted. This is what's to happen now.
Right. So it's important, friends, for you to have that good estate plan. Now, let me tell you, go to Wayne's website. You can look at this program and other programs that we've done over the last several years. It's all there. Just click on his YouTube channel. All those programs are there at todaysretirees.com, todaysretirees.com. We'll be back right after this.
A certified financial planner is a true professional, a well-rounded, holistic planner that helps you in all areas of your financial life. Estate planning, tax planning, financial planning, insurance planning. We have to sit for a 10-hour, 2-day exam, at least back when I took the test. It's not just a weekend designation where you go somewhere for a couple days, pay a couple $100, and now you have letters behind your name. One thing I think is important is that you try and find an independent certified financial planner. Somebody that doesn't work for a big firm. I myself own my company, Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. The buck stops with me, an independent, certified financial planner, one of the only ones on the north coast of Ohio.
And welcome back to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. We're talking about your estate plan, and we've covered a couple of topics. If you want to go back and look at those topics, you can go to Wayne's YouTube channel. You can find that on his website at todaysretirees.com. But, you know, Wayne, when we're talking about, and you were talking in that last segment about having a normal or a simple family. And, you know, I mean, in today's society, it's crazy. I mean, there's all kinds of ins and outs, and you know, multiple marriages, and even the kids maybe have multiple marriages. So you have in-laws and step, you know, siblings and all of these kinds of things, half siblings, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about our assets. You know, when we talk about our assets, you know, folks may have, you know, toys.
Are your assets simple?
Yeah. I mean,
do you just have a house, a couple cars,
Sure.
money in the bank, some invest, you know, or
do you have vacation homes and motor homes and all the toys that go with all of that? I have a neighbor down the street who has a pull behind, you know, fifth wheel, and he's got a ramp that lets down on the back. He calls it his toy hauler.
it is, yeah.
And he's got,
That's what they call 'em.
He's got four-wheelers that he runs up in there, and
Yeah.
golf carts and all that.
Yeah, so things like that. So, and you know, if you have, you know, kids, you know, boys, girls, you know, who gets the four-wheelers, right? What about the camper? If you have collectibles are a big deal.
Sure.
You know, guns, coins, stamps, antiques, collector cars,
Sure.
whatever. What happens to those? You know, who gets those? The valuables, like and sentimentals, like rings, jewelry, that type of thing. You know, it's hard in many cases for families to figure out who's getting what if mom and dad didn't spell it out in their will or trust.
Sure.
You know, it can get ugly.
Sure. I've seen that.
It can get ugly. Another thing is, if you have a house and multiple kids, you know, what if one of the kids wants to buy the house, you know, buy the share from the others? Or do you want to leave the house to that kid and give more of your other assets to the other kids?
Sure.
You know, you have to think through this, and in a lot of cases, you have to spell out in your will to how to liquidate and split up these things. You know, you just don't say I leave my house to my 3 kids. You know, unless they all get along and they're a normal, simple family, then they can get through that. But if not, then you have to say, you know, my executor is to sell the house, you know, and split the proceeds equally between my 3 children.
Sure.
You know, or my executor is to give each of the children the opportunity to buy the house at appraised value or 80% below appraised value, whatever. And
Sure.
if none of the other children dispute that, then it's okay. If they dispute it, then that other blah, blah, blah kid can, you know, get this instead of, you know, the son or daughter buying the house or whatever the case.
Sure.
You could put, if anyone, you know, gives, you know, disputes this or whatever, then their share is out of the will. Then they don't get anything. Or you could say for mom's rings, the children are to draw straws for each valuable item. Or,
Sure.
Or the oldest gets first dibs. Whatever you want, you just spell it out.
Sure.
So the kids aren't fighting about it, unless you have a normal, simple family that all get along. You know, the Brady Bunch. You know, it's not going to be. So it's better to be more detailed than less detailed.
Right. And I can see, you know, you asked, when we started off this program, is, you know, why do people wait so long?
That's why.
That's part of it.
Yeah, of
you know,
course.
you have to go through this whole process.
Well, sometimes you got to put your big boy pants on and make some decisions. You know,
Right.
you know, this is adult They say it's, we're doing adulting.
Right.
This is adult stuff that
Right.
should be done. It shouldn't be put off. And I just would like to make one point before we run out of time is you can do everything I'm talking about through your will, but you can also do it through a trust.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm not going to get into big detail of the differences, all the differences between the two. The main difference with the trust is you're going to avoid probate.
Okay.
So instead of an executor, you have a successor trustee that would take over and disperse everything we're talking about. But with a trust, you have no oversight.
Okay.
It's up to the successor trustee to do your wishes, what you put in the will, in the trust.
Okay.
And if you don't, if none of the other kids saw the trust, right, if you're the only one with the trust, they don't know.
Oh, I see where you're going.
So you can do whatever, and there's no one overseeing it. If you do this through a will, it goes through probate court, and the court oversees the will. So the executor can't do that kind of stuff.
Okay.
For the trust, they can. You pick a trustee, and a trustee, you better trust them. They're going to do the right thing.
Right.
So that's, again, I just wanted to put that out today because you could do everything through a trust that we're talking about through a will, just there's no oversight.
Okay. So like you say, you need to trust that trustee, whoever that is, most likely a child.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Could be others.
Could be, right. So,
family members,
Right.
If there's no child that can do it or they'll be mad because you picked one, then you pick someone else.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. But someone that'll follow could it be even the attorney? Potentially.
Last case scenario
Yeah.
attorneys, that's a little conflict of interest, but
Okay.
if there's no one else, some attorneys will take the job.
Sure. Right. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're putting together your estate plan. But the first place to start is to go and sit down with a certified financial planner like Wayne and say, this is what I need to do. What do I need to put in place and how do I put this into place? And Wayne will walk you through the process. He's not an attorney. He's not going to do it for you, but he'll help you put together the plan so that you can go to an attorney, be very informed, and then when you go to your attorney, you'll know what to do, what to expect, and it'll all pan out in the end, I'm telling you. As a testimony, I just did this with Wayne's help, and
A little late, but good.
it was very late. He's been after me for several years, but we finally got it done. So you take the time, put your plan together, go see Wayne, 866-626-3990. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's Retirees with certified financial planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Visit todaysretirees.com or call 866-626-3990 to schedule a no-cost appointment with Wayne. Today's Retirees is brought to you by Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management, family-focused retirement and tax planning services, anchored in family values. Information and opinions discussed on today's Retirees do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station. Opinions expressed should not be substituted for individualized consultation with a qualified financial advisor. For specific information, call 866-626-3990 or visit todaysretirees.com.